Africa and actually go back to work, didn't he?
Absolutely. He came back to South Africa at age 66 to go back to work. He'd figured out how to retire. He was going to live off the interest of his money. He wanted to live here for 6 months in the United States, and he wanted to live in South Africa for 6 months. He had it all planned out to where he could have just a lovely time with his children and you know, at least have his doors open to have the option of being able to go if there was any kind of problems. He had 2 places to go to.
That's a very sad, must have been a very sad time in your life.
It was very sad for our whole family, but you know, we're very fortunate. We have an incredible family. The resolve in our family, and it's just, we're very lucky that we were all pulled together, our whole family pulled together, not just my brothers and sisters, but my late dad's sisters, my mother's family, side of the family. Everybody pulled together and tried to help us out, which we, to this day, we're grateful for.
Now, of your immediate family, your brothers and sisters,
yes,
where are you all at the moment, and how often do you see each other?
Pretty dispersed. We see each other pretty. I see my oldest sister, Merle. She's down in Boca, so I see her at least 8 to 10 times a year. My little brother's down there. I see him as well. My brother Dumit, I don't see Dumit and my mother that often. It's so expensive for us to fly back home, you know, to be with them over there. And my mother cannot fly too much now. She's old, so it's very difficult for her to come over and be with us over here. So we don't get to see much of them. And my other sister, I don't get to see much of them in South Africa. We don't travel across back home that much.
In my hand, I have a ball.
I just love the game. I've never been a millionaire, but I've lived like one all my life.
I made the right decision going to teaching because, you know, the old saying, you know, those that can do, those that can't teach, you know.
I'm not gonna go to university. I'm not one for the books. I had no academic passion at all, so to speak. So I decided it was going to be golf.
Amazingly, you used to associate a lot with caddies. You like to spend a lot of time with caddies, and in fact, you speak African languages.
Yes, I do. I speak Sesotho and Tswana. Yeah.
Tell us about some of the funny instances with caddies. There's a lovely story about you, I think, playing at Harbour Town, where you'd 3-putted and missed a couple of shots, and you turned to your caddy and said,
oh yeah, that was with Bullet. Oh yeah, I was playing with VJ and Nicky Price, and I was frustrated because I was hitting the ball perfect and I couldn't make a thing. And eventually I got onto the sixth tee, and I hit my tee shot down the middle, and I just turned over to Bullet. I said, Bullet, I am so frustrated. I just feel like breaking something. What can I break? And he looked straight at me and said, how about par? And I'll tell you what, Nicky nearly fell down. Nicky just absolutely loved that. VJ burst out laughing, and I was the only one who was really ticked off, you know what I mean? I was like, hey, I didn't hire you to be a smart ass, you know.
Of course, the senior tour now has been something that happened for you over the last few years, but would you say fair comment is that maybe due to the fact that you've always had a short swing, short swings don't last as well as long swings in golf?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, no question about it. The longer your swing is, the longer you'll play the game. There's no question about it. With success.
Yes.
That's why Tom Watson's so fantastic at his age. He still gets the club past parallel if he wants.
Same thing with Freddie Couples.
Same thing. Anybody who gets it over there, it's good. They got longevity.
Yeah.
They really do.
So, I mean, you have played reasonably well, but
Yes.
again, not as well as you.
Yeah, but I've had some serious health issues. I've played, over the last 3 years, I've been playing and should not have been playing.
Just tell us about some of those. Heart attacks, all sorts.
Oh, I've had 2 heart attacks, but the biggest issue is my back. I've got 2 ruptured discs in my back, and I've got a degenerative arthritis disease that just the spine, the actual vertebrae themselves are in bad shape, you know. So the pain is relentless. You know what it's like. I mean, and you can't play golf in pain, and I've tried to play golf in pain, and it's been very, very hard. But you know, being a boertjie from the Free State, I just keep going, you know. I don't ease up.
Now, recently, when you had your most recent heart attack, was just a couple of months ago.
Yes.
I mentioned it back home to Simon Hobday, and Simon Hobday was quite confused because he wasn't sure that you had a heart.
There's one of my all-time heroes right there, Simon. Oh, I tell you, I miss him. I miss those days where, you know, we'd finish playing 18 holes and sit down the clubhouses and chit and chat about the game, and what a great guy, Simon. I miss Hobos, man. I learned so much about ball striking from that man right there. That man, to this day, I still believe him and Ben Hogan are the 2 best ball strikers I've ever seen.
He had a lot of shots out the middle of the club, probably more than most people.
Unbelievable. The sound that it would make when Simon hit an iron, it was just different to everybody else's.
Now, while you're on that subject, pick 2 other golfers that have impressed you in whatever way.
Gary Player, because of his stature as a physical human being. I mean, 5'7", to go up against giants and dominate and beat them. That, for me, is incredible. His discipline, his dedication, his fortitude. He just never, ever thought about coming second. He wanted to win so badly that he did win. True champion. Unbelievable. And Nicholas, to me, you know, he was just, his whole demeanor, his whole way of playing the game, it was so gentle but so powerful, if you know what I'm saying. And to me, that was so impressive. He has a man that could walk out there, you wouldn't know if he was shooting 8 over par, if he was 8 under par, and he just had the same demeanor, and the way he played the game was just phenomenal for me.
There have been loads of characters in the game. Pick a couple of characters that stand out for you that you've met over the years.
Mr. Trevino, Lee Trevino, Simon Hobday. Hobday was probably one of the great characters. Tommy Bolt, but that was going way back. I didn't know too much about him, but heard stories about him, you know. But my time, Simon was one of the best characters out there. He made the game fun, you know. Lee Trevino, the way he would, you know, talk to people in the middle of his swing, and people couldn't figure out how can you talk and hit it. Great character. We were fortunate we had that. Today they're a little too stereotyped for me personally. I would prefer to see them relaxing a little bit more and getting the crowd more involved, you know. I think it would be better for the game because people would come to the golf course a little bit more and enjoy themselves a little bit more.
You said earlier that you really worked hard in the game and you learnt by watching people. Do you think the game is getting too scientific?
It's gotten too scientific. It's not getting too scientific. It's gotten too scientific. Dale, here's the scenario. Okay, we play a game of golf. Let's say 80% of the golf courses average in the world are par 72. If I strike the ball 72 times and shoot even par, the total contact time of the golf ball and the club face is 2 seconds. The total time to swing it for those 72 blows is 1 minute and 40 seconds. We are taking 5.5 hours to play a round of golf because scientifically people are thinking that they're going to figure out something that somebody else has not yet figured out about how to play the game, and they're going to win. It doesn't work that way, fellas. Go to the simple side. Get on with it. If you hit it, it either goes in or it misses. If it misses, hit it again. Don't stand there and wonder what thought you can put in your mind, which psychologist told you to use what thought, which coach told you to use what swing. That's all rigmarole. You got to man up, or woman up and hit the shot.
Have you ever been to a mental coach?
Have
you ever been to one of these mental guys?
Yes, I sat down and I had dinner with Bob Rotella once. And Bob Rotella tried to tell me what I know and charge me for telling me what I know. You know, I don't mind if you're going to tell me something I don't know and charge me, I'm willing to pay. But when you start telling me something that I know and you want me to pay you for telling me what I know already, that doesn't make sense to me.
If you had to take a couple of golf lessons at your stage of the game today, which teachers would you go to?
None of them.
If you were a 20 handicapper and you wanted to send somebody to a coach, who would you send them to?
To the local pro. I would send them to the local pro at the club. Basically because I believe that 99.99% of the professional golfers at all clubs in the world pretty much know the basic fundamentals of the game. But also, sadly, over there is the head professional is a dead animal. It's now become the director of golf. We don't have head professionals except some of the older exclusive clubs. And really, the director of golf is fantastic at putting a function together and arranging all the, you know, the itinerary for the year and stuff like that. He doesn't know how to play the game of golf. It's not like it was 25 years ago where the head professional was one, you know, in charge of all the golf on the golf course. Today, it's the director of golf. So I would say to anybody starting the game, trust and believe in your local head pro. Find out where he is, go to the country club that's got a head professional, and 99.9% of them will help you play the game. The game is very simple, Dale. It's not a complicated game. I've always thought anyway, for me, I've always thought that this over-analyzing and all these wonderful theories, yes, it makes money, it sells books, and it creates discussion. But coming back to the simplicity of it, it was started by sheep shepherds. Really.
That's right. Another aspect of the game that you've put a lot of... Who of those South African, you mentioned Bobby Cole being an underachiever.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of other terrific players. Hugh Baiocchi.
Fantastic.
Blandy.
Absolutely.
Who would you have said of those players that never came to America would have done well over here had they tried?
Every single one of them. Blandy would have done well, yeah. Hugh Baiocchi would have. The living proof is when they came over and played on the Champions Tour. I never ever sat down with John Bland and tried to figure out why didn't you play over here when you were at your best? Why didn't you come over here in the late 70s and early 80s? Because that's when you were at your best. I think what happened maybe in Blandy's case and Baiocchi's case was that they were doing so well in Europe that they thought, why rock the boat? You know what I mean? The competition in Europe was just as stiff as it was over here, but obviously it doesn't get the recognition because it doesn't have the amount of dollars. But the players were just as good. They weren't as deep, but the champions were still the champions.
Why is it now the Ryder Cup has changed and the Europeans seem to be dominating the Ryder Cup?
Well, you've got to remember, it's a lot different when you're playing and you're representing 12 or 13 countries. If you're standing there and you're playing and you're only representing one country, your country, I think there's way more pressure on you than representing 13 or 14 countries. And I'm not saying that the Americans can't handle the pressure, but I do believe that the Europeans have found something to stick in there that they haven't found out how to handle yet. Because there is something going on in that Ryder Cup that's affecting the players on the American squad when they go and face these guys. Because on paper, it should be a one-horse race. Okay, the last 10, 12 times it's been a little bit different because Europe has got some phenomenal players. But it still should look like America should dominate. But they don't, because the Europeans have found something to put under their skin in the Ryder Cup, and it's working.
Match play is a very different game, and it's a game that people are playing right outside here today.
Yeah.
They probably play match play against each other. Amateur golfers play it all the time. And what strategy would you, if you had to pass on a tip for the club golfer to help him play better, to beat his buddy on a Saturday, what strategy would you give him?
Take your time. No, actually, the real secret in match play, to me, was to be able to come up with a comment at the right time about what your opponent's doing. Like if you stood, for argument's sake, if I was playing against you on the first hole, on the very first hole, and you got up and you striped one down the middle of the fairway, and I got up and I missed the fairway, you know, I would turn around and I would say to you, man, have you been hitting a lot of fairways lately? You know, simple things that you can say that might just make your opponent think about something that he wasn't thinking about. That works.
So you believe in gamesmanship?
Absolutely. In match play, absolutely. It's a part of the game. I'm not going to go out there like a robot and say, nice shot, Dale, when you're beating me. I'm trying to beat you. I'm going to use every single thing that I know to try and beat you within the parameters of the rules, and also being, you know, keeping it within the etiquette of the game. The etiquette of the game doesn't say don't use gamesmanship. It just says use it appropriately.
Talking about gamesmanship, who would you say was somebody that like really used it to his advantage? I mean, stories are about Seve.
Seve, no question about it. He knew exactly when to cough. He knew exactly when to say something. He was brilliant at it. In fact, I think that's the needle, I think, that got under the American skin, and that's probably why the Ryder Cup shifted so much from being dominated by them for so many years, and it shifted over to Europe dominating now, ever since Seve got involved.
Seve was a legend, a genuine legend.
You know, they say you don't get too many special people that like that in this world. He was very, very special, not only to golf. To humanity, he was a very special person. He had a charisma about him that Seve could walk into a room and it didn't matter who was in the room. They would look up and look at Seve. He was one of those people that were blessed. He was blessed.
And Seve was amazingly tight. You know, we joke about John Bland being tight. We joke about other people being tight. But you're an incredibly generous person. If you've got $10 in your pocket, you'd lend somebody 11.
I haven't seen a hearse with a luggage rack. There's no such thing. You're not taking it with you. And if you know you're going to make another $10 and you've got $10 in your pocket and somebody needs $10, give it to him. You know you're going to make another 10. What difference does it make? What, do you want to keep a nice big stash so one day when you die you leave it to somebody that they might not appreciate it?
But what happens when you get old?
Then you worry about it when you get old. I know what you're saying, but you know, I don't know.
You must have learned something from what
I
happened.
I do wish I had made, you know, some different decisions when it comes to finances. I do wish that I'd made some different decisions, but I was never really that wealthy that I could have ever put myself into a situation that would have made me so much better off than I am.
And you're not motivated by money at all?
Money has always just been something that's a part of life. So I don't, you know, if I need it, I work to get it, and if I don't need it, I don't think about it.
What motivated you? Holding the trophy, winning the tournament, beating everybody. What was the biggest motivating factor for Fulton Allem?
Winning.
Why though? What aspect of it?
Just so that I could say to myself, I'm the best. That particular week, I was the best. And that was just a great feeling for me. It was I was motivated. Like when I went to a tournament, all I thought about is I must figure out how I can win this golf tournament. And that's all I concentrated on, is to try and win the golf tournament. And sure, you know, a lot of people say, oh, but you're playing for so much money, you know, you could have, don't take that chance, you know. Third place, it's a lot of money. Yeah, but third place doesn't feel as good as first place. I wanted to feel good about myself. I wanted to feel good about what I believed I could do. That's what motivated me, is setting a belief, setting a plan, setting a goal, and then achieving it. And when you do that, it's a great sense of accomplishment.
Going right off track now, a lot of publicity has been going around over the last little while about Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
And what's happened with Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
If you looked at the headlines in the papers, they say, you know, what's happened, and they're putting him alongside Tiger and various other people who have
issues
in whatever aspect. How much of that goes on in golf?
You know, I've never thought about it really. I've always thought golf was such a clean sport, and that, you know, our integrity, you know, we learned from Nicholas Palmer, Player, Watson. These are guys that have got tremendous amount of integrity and honor and respect for their work. Now, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. That's not my business. I was never one to get involved in what goes on behind closed doors. That's your, that's your problem in life, not mine. But I've always believed that our sport was clean. I thought maybe, yeah, somebody smokes a joint, yeah, maybe you have that, maybe somebody gets bust for doing cocaine or something like that. But I never thought it was like a reason why they played well. They were doing drugs because the drugs helped them play well. Because I don't believe there's a drug that helps you make a 3-footer. If there is, please, I'll take it. I don't believe in that, So I don't look for it. And I don't think that golf, you see, golf is so wonderful in that it doesn't only require a tremendous amount of power. It requires the slightest touch that you can possibly have. So you've got from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum with the human anatomy. At 1 second you're moving something at 175 miles an hour, and a split second later it's moving at less than 1/4 mile an hour. So you know, that to me is unique about our game. That's why no one will ever perfect it. And I don't believe there's any drug that's going to make you play golf that much better than what you'd do if you weren't on the drug. It's up here.